Welcome to the Mojo Market Report. Here's your hosts, Dave Sturchio and Chris Gueci.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Mojo Market Report right here on a Football Thursday. That's right, Week 11 of the NFL is here and now, and we don't have to wait any longer, which is great. I feel like it's just like yesterday the Cowboys blew that 14-point lead, but it's over. It's behind us, and now tonight we got ourselves another game, obviously with the Green Bay Packers and the Tennessee Titans. Dave Sturchio, Chris Gueci right here at Shop Studios for another episode. And there's a lot of stuff going on the market because I've been doing a lot of deep diving now because I want to start setting myself up for longer plays or making money on a Sunday. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like there's like two ways to do it. There's like plays that I'm just like, yes, take the money, invest here, boom, leave it alone, let it go, never touch it. And then there's times where I'm like, Sunday, this guy's gonna stink out loud today, and I really, really want to make some money on a short game. So today, as a matter of fact, we're gonna go long or short. So long or short on specific players. And again, we'll get into the game in a little bit, and two of these guys actually pertain to the game tonight. So we'll start with DeAndre Swift. Now, Chris, I bring this one up because of his usage, of his injuries, of the fact that the Detroit Lions were one of the top offenses in the beginning of the year, right? Scoring a lot of points. They're doing their thing. You know, Jared Goff at the helm, Dan Campbell in his second year as a head coach. The Lions look like they'll fight and scratch and claw, but at the end of the day, they're still kind of not a good football team, right?
Correct.
So,
They're still not good.
Still not good. DeAndre Swift barely getting action, like barely kind of like just, I don't even know how to describe it, but like he's there. He's not hurt.
Well, he's missed time. He's definitely missed some time. But yeah, DeAndre Swift, I'm not sure that the market has caught on to the fact that he's not really that great of a player.
That's where I was going with it.
I have this thing about DeAndre Swift.
But I'm actually different here.
All the talent in the world, correct? Like, we all know what he's capable of because we've seen it in spurts, but the guy cannot stay on the field. And when he is on the field, they're not really using him. So this is the carry. This is his usage in his last games. 5, 7, 5, 2, 6.
That's alarming.
He hasn't hit 10 yards total rushing yards in his last 3 games.
10 yards?
He hasn't eclipsed 10 yards. So we're talking about a guy on an offense. They're a really good offense. We've seen that. Jamal Williams doesn't seem to have much
He's getting paid he's a goal line vulture, so he's going to get those touchdowns.
I think DeAndre Swift, they have the idea that he will be the clear one in Detroit, but DeAndre Swift, as I mentioned, he's not been able to stay healthy, and for the reasons why I'm talking, I mean, they have 18 in future market projections for DeAndre Swift, and he's banking at about $1.58 per season.
So now you're looking at about seven years.
I mean, I think that because he wasn't really the full-on starter early, you could skew some of that. If he gets healthy and he plays a full stretch of 16, 17 games, that average will go up significantly. So you have to kind of dismiss that because of their early career and see what he's banked on a stretch of 8 games. Like, he's had an 8-game stretch in his career where that's pretty much everything he banked in his career was in an 8-game stretch. So then you average that over the rest, and it doesn't seem like it's too great. So the talent is there. It's just the usage is not, the health is not there. And because there's already so many injuries that have nagged him throughout his career, and there hasn't been that big one just yet, I'm looking at him as like he needs to be Joe Mixon for the next 4 years, 3-4 years. I just don't see that out of DeAndre Swift right now. And there was those kinds of questions surrounding Mixon early, but Mixon was at least consistently putting up numbers when he was playing, not eclipsing 10 yards in 3 straight games.
That is
one of those games, mind you, was against the Packers. So we know what Packers do against the run. We're going to find out a little bit tonight how bad they are against the run.
Well, then how come the Cowboys going to run the ball?
Can't get 10 yards against Green Bay's run defense. I'm going to short you just for that alone. So on top of all the other reasons that.
So right now, DeAndre Swift is sitting there right behind James Conner, and right above Najee Harris. If you're looking for a comparable player, that type of player. Look, he's RB1. He's just not getting RB1 usage. So for that, you're short.
I'm short.
I'm short on him as well. I actually wrote down long in my little rundown here.
I'm so proud when I see your notes and you're like, you're in on somebody, but my thorough analysis makes you say, hey, you know what?
It sways me. What are you going to do?
I mean, do what you got to do, bro. This is money we're talking about here. There's no egos. Check your ego at the door at the Mojo Market Report.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because there has been times where we like, oh, fake money. But now I'm like, I'm in it. You know what I mean? So I don't want to just like, yeah, sure, let's go long on DeAndre Swift.
My trials are over. I'm
You're fully
fledged
Good.
in
I'm
the
glad to
Mojo
hear
Market.
that.
Yeah, my trials are over. I'm making money now. Or I'm at least trying to make money.
Staying in the running back situation, a guy that I'm in on. I'll say it before you talk me out of it, which I don't know what you're about to say about this guy, but Ramondre Stevenson, Ram Stevenson, which again, I don't even know if that's his nickname, but it might be around these parts. He's up 4% in the month. He seems to be in favor over his backup and the other running backs in New England. And I know for years, even when Tom Brady was there in his heyday, there would be 4 guys that they would use, whether it be, the James Whites of the world, the Kevin Falks of the world, like all those guys. It's always been by committee, but for whatever reason, I feel like Bill Belichick is in on this kid, and I feel like they're feeding him a lot more. He's got a 3-time multiplier. I'm going long on Ramondre Stevenson right now as it stands.
Yeah, I love his usage. First of all, the player we've been in, me, I've been in on Ram Stevenson since he got drafted. I thought he should have been the clear
since you labeled him Ram Stevenson.
Yeah, so since he was drafted, I was like, wow, I really like this kid.
And I hope he's nicknamed
I can see him taking over that job as early as this season. And they did use him a ton last year, but Damian Harris still had his presence, which we'll get to Damian Harris in a second. But look,
that was another voice, by the way.
Double-digit carries in 7 of 9 games this season. So they're running the ball in New England. There's no secret about what they're going to do. And there's no secret that they're going to hand it to Ramondre Stevenson. But guess what? It doesn't matter because the guy's still getting yards.
He's averaging 4.8 a carry, bro.
He's averaging 4.8 a carry, and they know it's coming. So against the stacked box, Ramondre Stevenson, if they had anything on the outside whatsoever, it would open things up for him in a major way. And I'm confident that the Patriots are going to keep this guy around a long enough time as to where you might see that happen, where you get to see him fully blossom as a lead back in a powerful offense. Right now, the Patriots aren't a powerful offense, but he is the entire offense. Ready? 5 or more targets in 7 of 9 games. So he's got double-digit carries and 5 or more targets in 7 of 9 games.
He's got 24 targets throughout the course of the year, 17 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, Ramondre Stevenson, the usage is there. I'm really in on him, and it doesn't mean that I'm
How about the fact that I was reading DeAndre Swift's numbers?
I know, you were. I was like, Dave, you're wrong.
I'm so tired this morning. I was up all night trying to get Taylor Swift tickets, and I'm
it's one of those situations
out.
where I was like, wait, did I write down the wrong stats? Because I just added up my targets, and I was like, well,
43 targets,
he's had a lot more than that.
receptions, 227 yards, and a touchdown.
It's been
but
rare.
Shout out to DeAndre Swift for getting.
It's very rare that you see a New England Patriot back get to be the leading pass catcher and the leading rusher.
That's a James White.
They've always had a guy that they've been able to spell their lead back with, and they've never even really had a lead back. We could think about the course of the last 2 decades. Let's go. How many?
Curtis Martin.
2 decades, I said. He was a Jet after 97.
3 decades. Let's go back 3 decades
Right?
in that time.
They've had Corey Dillon. They've had guys that
have
shown up, but they weren't really the guy. They were like a guy that came in and he's like, oh, we're going to use him on the goal line. Ramondre Stevenson, he bucked all them Bill Belichick trends about not giving the guy the ball every play, and I love it. Now,
I love it too. Now,
I'm clearly going long on Ramondre
flip side.
Stevenson, if you guys haven't noticed. And I'm 3-time multiplying him because I'm very, very confident in the Patriots' usage of him.
Flip side is a Damian Harris. Now, while we're saying and giving all the flowers to Ramondre Stevenson, there is a certain somebody on the roster right now who's not benefiting from all this attention. Now, here's the play here. He's down 9% in a month. The usage is down. The trust is down. I don't think anybody can figure out how much Damian Harris is going to get the ball going forward. But what I will say is if you're into the multiplier game, for whatever reason, there's a 10 times short multiplier on this guy. And if Ram Stevenson keeps doing his thing, the long-term play of going short on a guy like Damian Harris might be the play here. Again, the New England running back situation was never to be figured out. That was like Bill Belichick's that's the last grasp of a secret. Like nobody will ever figure this out. Or I'm sorry, nobody will ever figure this out. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was it for him. But Damian Harris has fallen to the wayside a little bit, no?
Yeah, I mean, he's dealt with a little bit of injury situation, and then he was sick this past weekend against the Colts, so he didn't get to play.
Poor guy.
But I'm looking at it in the beginning of the season. In the first 4 games, he had double-digit carries. He almost had 20 in week 4. And then from there...
That was 6 weeks ago, though.
Yeah, from there, I think he got a little bit of an injury in the Detroit game, and then he missed the Cleveland game. Since then, he did have double-digit carries against the Jets. So he has 4 games where Ramondre Stevenson played, and he still got the ball 10 times.
Okay.
Now, the problem here is he doesn't really get much in the way of receiving passes out of the backfield. I think he averaging like a target and a half per game. That's not going to get it done in terms of you're looking at the other, his stablemate, Ramondre Stevenson has 40-something targets. So they clearly like Ramondre Stevenson.
43, and I read that on the Ramondre Stevenson
in both
stats
aspects
here.
in both phases of the game, they prefer Ramondre Stevenson. Damian Harris, I think there's a chance that he sticks around in New England for quite some time because I don't think he's playing himself into a.
But that's what those guys do in New
into
England.
a big second deal.
They can ride those two for a long time.
So I wouldn't short Damian Harris by any means. I'm not going to go long on him either. So maybe we should have made this
a pass. You can pass.
I'm going to sit and wait a little bit because the only way I see him really shooting up in any given game is it through an injury. If he gets the starting job and he gets to get 25 carries in a game, I don't like waiting on an injury, and I don't like backups that don't catch the ball out of the backfield. I like a guy that's going to be able to spell a guy and has a clear role. I think in this case, he doesn't do anything better than Stevenson.
Stevenson got 3 times the amount of targets, by the way.
I do think we may have seen the bottom in terms of expectations. As long as he's getting 10 carries a game, I don't see him going further down.
See, I don't know if he gets that.
I mean, against the Jets,
I understand that's the trend, but it's just
in his last game.
As weeks go by, I feel like Stevenson's really going to take on that role of just being the dude. And
in the last game where they both played,
10,
he had 11 carries.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like they don't have a quarterback or something.
I mean, they do.
Do they? They have 2. When you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. That's the rule. One Mike Francesa said that once upon a time. But anyway, Damian Harris, interesting play. I would sit back just like you said. Yeah, we're just going to
clear on Damian for now.
Chill for Damian Harris for a little bit. All right. To a pass catcher over there in Seattle, right? And I did the Seattle like Russ Wilson did when he signed that contract and then left town. Seattle's tight end Noah Fant is a topic of conversation because look, he was involved in the Russell Wilson trade, so new place, new face, new place. So you got to factor that in right now. He's up 3.5%. Geno seems to like him, but Geno also seems to like every other tight end on that roster, and there's a couple of them. Will Disley, there's another guy with long hair. There's probably a third guy with long hair. And I feel like there's a lot of long-haired tight ends over there, except for Noah Fant. But I would say that there's a big committee, and I don't know if that plays into your feeling about this, the fact that his volume as a pass catcher and target share has to have taken a hit over the last couple of weeks, no?
Yes, well, I think his target share is actually – I'm surprised when I looked at Noah Fant because when I saw him on your little list here,
my little list, not big list,
little list. When you were going to present to me with some players, right away my initial reaction was when I looked at the market and I looked at his future projections or the market, what they have him projected at, I was like immediately thinking short. And I'm still kind of there, right? But I do have to say, I think Noah Fant's been playing a lot better than I anticipated when I looked at his stats.
Especially for first-year tight end.
I thought he was an afterthought. And because every time I look up, there is other guys in that Seattle offense, like as you mentioned, that I see getting burned at the tight end position. And I looked at Noah Fant coming into the league as a blue chipper. I thought he was one of the guys that were like, oh, he's a great receiving tight end. I expected a ton more at this point. I remember seeing some plays in Denver where he had some splash plays, and I was like, wow, this guy's electric. He had like an 80-yard touchdown. I don't see that anymore out of him. I don't see that.
Now you think it's because of the dumbed-down offense, the emergence of Ken Walker?
I was just going to say, it's not the emergence of Kenneth Walker. Well, yes, maybe. It's also the fact that they have Tyler Lockett, they have DK, they have other pass catchers, they have Disley, they have
15 running backs.
And then I'm looking at Pete Carroll's tight ends over the course of history. They really haven't had many tight ends that have shown out.
Think about it in Seattle over time.
Bro, Jimmy Graham went to Seattle when he was probably at the top of his peak.
And did nothing.
And then that's where the peak ended. He started going down right immediately as soon as he got there. Now, Noah Fant's young enough in his playing careers to where he could still carve out a nice career in another spot.
Again, he's only in his 4th year, so it's not he's not
and I did talk about at length when we talked about Trey McBride how it takes tight ends a really long time, but he's in his 4th year now, right? So if he doesn't show up this season, he's a first-round pick.
Noah Fant, I believe so.
I think Noah Fant was a first-round pick.
For the Broncos? They went tight end first?
I do not believe that Noah Fant got a 5th-year deal. So is Noah Fant in a contract season? Could be it. He could be in a contract year this year. While Dave finds out, don't get it wrong.
First round of the 2019 draft.
So he's in his contract year. Did they pick up his player option?
You want me to go to Sport Track, right?
This matters.
I know.
I should have done this beforehand, but
no. Keep going. I definitely. I'm all in on this conversation.
I think if he's in his contract year, I'm gonna short Noah Fant. I know that
Noah
sounds
Fant is
crazy.
a unrestricted free agent in 2024, so not next year. The year after that.
Okay.
So he does have another year.
I'm gonna short him.
All right.
I'm gonna short Noah Fant.
Okay. All right. Because what you're saying is, if he doesn't live up to this billing in Seattle, it's probably like the story's written and it's over. That's your assumption.
I'm shorting Noah Fant because I'm going with my initial gut, and this is not for what I think Noah Fant does not reach what the market projects him to reach. I think there's going to be spurts in Noah Fant's career, maybe even the rest of this season, where he does go up. But if we're talking about long-term play here, I just don't see him being able to accumulate those types of numbers in a league where he's already in his fourth season and he's just remedial at best. It's not like he's been lighting it up.
And just based off the contracts of how things work in the NFL, it is a business. We do know that the NFL salary cap will be going up over the next course of the year because of the TV deals and all that stuff. But right now, his cap number for this year is just $2.2 million as a starting tight end. Next year, 6.8.
What does it say? Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
What does it say for his future? Right
$6.11.
And his average is not good.
No, because again, if that's what they're only projecting, he doesn't have a lot of bank value over the course of 3 years. But think about it: 3 years, probably $1.98, something to that effect.
99 cents.
Yeah,
split the difference. Split the difference. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little hesitant there. I'm a little hesitant there.
All right, moving on. Let's
Short
go.
Fant.
Somebody's playing tonight. We'll kind of segue, talk about a little bit of these two guys that are playing tonight, the next two, and then we'll segue into the game. Treylon Burks, again, drafted super, not honestly super high, but like the expectations were there for Treylon Burks, okay? He's down 7.7% since draft day. He's obviously came out with the asthma stuff. He's come out with other injuries. To me, Treylon Burks is a complete pass right now for me. I don't know what Treylon Burks is going to offer the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are the absolute worst offense in football right now, yardage-wise. So how much does this guy contribute? You know what I mean? It's alarming for them to spend this kind of draft capital on a Treylon Burks for him not to do anything yet.
Yeah,
We're 10 weeks into the season.
Just all numbers aside, because he doesn't really have many numbers. In the beginning of the year, they were throwing his way a decent amount of times, and I know it doesn't seem like a lot.
He's got 22
5,
targets.
6, 2, 3 targets in his first 4. But they were only throwing the ball like 11 times a game. So he was getting 50% of it. 50% of the targets over there in Tennessee. That's not going to change now. I don't see them going forward throwing the football a ton. He hasn't been able to practice all that much. And the times that I've seen him practice in the beginning of the year, right after the draft, prior to the season starting, it was a really bad look for Treylon Burks. He's just very out of shape. And I know that he's supposed to be one of these guys that is like a A.J. Brown type where he's just a physical specimen. But I need to see a little bit more athleticism, and I need to see a little bit more endurance. I need to see a little bit more that you're working hard in the offseason.
I need to see a little more.
And I could be completely wrong because some guys aren't practice guys. They go up, they show the game, and they have a different speed on game
but when
day.
you're that young
But when we're talking about the Mojo Market,
right.
I don't want anything to do with a guy that's just a guy that shows up. I need to know that my guy's a professional. He's taking his job seriously because it's my money involved here. And I don't believe that Treylon Burks is taking his job serious. I don't believe that when I'm looking at the practice footage that just came out this past week, that I'm seeing a guy that's given effort. And now, this is one of these things that I typically don't do when we're talking about the market. I don't try and get in somebody else's head. Or betting or fantasy. I don't try and get into Treylon Burks' head and decide on what type of guy he is, what type of player he is. But when I'm looking at certain other guys and they're cutting an out or they're running a dig and they're running it like they're in the game, and you're seeing the talented receivers in this year's class that are working hard. I think they're all talented. I think Treylon Burks is one of the most elite talents in the draft class, but I don't see him putting in the work that I see the other guys doing. I see that he looks a little bit worse than he looked at his pro day in terms of running his routes and doing the drills. And I'm only looking at maybe 2 minutes of film that social media cut up for me. So I could be completely wrong.
We're out in Tennessee's,
but
and
that's
their
the
security
feeling that I
footage.
have surrounding Treylon Burks. Now I hear other people that I very much respect talking about football that are very big into college football and SEC, and they say Treylon Burks is that dude. right? Tennessee traded up. They essentially got rid of A.J. Brown, and they got Treylon Burks with that pick. It was a nice move for them at the time. I hope it pans out, just not tonight. I'm out on Treylon Burks, but it's because I don't see enough usage in the game. He hasn't played much, and it doesn't seem like he's trying to get that out there, and it doesn't seem like he's working that hard. And they chalked it up to asthma. Well, I'm chalking it up to short. That's it.
That is the diagnosis. It is short.
Diagnosis is short.
One more guy that we're talking about.
I'm going to get my head ripped off by certain people.
That's all right. Don't even
love
worry about it. Just
Burks.
duck. Alan Lazard is a guy we want to talk about here. He's in his 5th year. Since being drafted, ready for this number? This number, this is without multipliers, ladies and gentlemen. He's up 896%. So clearly when he was drafted, the expectations were super low, and he's exceeded all of them. Why is that? Why does Alan Lazard have such a nice little career right now as he's entering his 5th year this year, 10 weeks in? It's because Aaron Rodgers is his quarterback, right? So that's where I'm a little alarmed, because while Aaron Rodgers, again, lights up the world last week with Christian Watson, and they do their thing, and he's quoted, "We're not dead." Great. Another Aaron Rodgers quote saying something like that. They're going to tear off 8 wins in a row. But what I will say is, how much longer is Aaron Rodgers going to be the quarterback? Are you in on a Alan Lazard without Aaron Rodgers? Because we're talking about the long-term game here. He does have a 15-time long multiplier along with a 10 times short. So it's a big decision if you're deciding on whether to invest in Alan Lazard.
I love Alan Lazard.
All right, so that's it. That'll be the show.
I love Alan Lazard and
loves him.
Just on the flip side, we were just talking about how hard or not hard Treylon Burks works, or I guess I said that wrong, but you understand what I'm saying. Treylon Burks doesn't work hard. He's a first-round pick, and I don't see it. But with Alan Lazard, look at how much he's up, 900%. You know what that means? That means that he had no expectations coming into the league. I don't even think he was drafted. Alan Lazard now up 900% because he works his tail off. This guy is there to stay. He's a consummate pro. He's one of the best run-blocking receivers in football, so he's going to
So now you're giving credit to run-blocking guys. Unbelievable.
Well, what I'll say is a guy like Lazard who doesn't light up the 40 times. He doesn't. Mm-hmm. He's not going to stretch the field for you.
He's a gamer. He's a random Cobb Chase.
He does a lot of things right, and he has the trust of his quarterback more so than any receiver on that team. That's not going to change if Aaron Rodgers leaves. It's still going to be Lazard as the vet. Now, I will say this. Lazard's in his contract year. They signed him to a 1-year tender. I don't think Lazard's going anywhere. It's going to be cheap enough. The Packers love him. The fan base loves him.
I'm looking at his future right now, $4.78. If this is the trend and he keeps doing what he's doing, I find that to be very, very low.
Yes,
for his future expectations.
Look, even if Aaron Rodgers leaves, which I'm on the fence about how I feel about Rodgers.
It's week 10.
I just said I don't like to get into other players' heads. Everyone seems to know what Rodgers is going to do, but they've known what he was going to do for the last 2 seasons, and he's still the quarterback.
It's been exhausting over here.
Still
a
quarterback in Green Bay. I got $100 million says he plays 2 more years. We'll see how that plays out. And I think there's a shred of Aaron Rodgers starting to take pride in being the leader of these younger receivers.
Oh, now he's starting to take pride?
Well, they won a game.
You
didn't see that?
See, that's what happens when you win games in the NFL.
You take pride.
You give a crap. Now it all makes sense to me. But so you're long on Alan Lazard. You think he gets somewhat of a significant payday in the offseason where he's at least paid to be the number one?
He's going to be. I don't know if they're going to pay him number one money.
Well,
but
who's the number one then? If it's not
I think
him?
the understanding is that they pay Lazard based on his stats.
Imagine how much money they would save if Rodgers wasn't there.
They maybe give him a little bit of a bump because of what he's done for the organization and things like that. But you don't give Lazard number one money. You bring in, you sign Lazard with the understanding like, hey, Alan, we're trying to upgrade here. So we're going to pay you to be the number 2, and so be it. There's nothing wrong with being the number 2 receiver in the NFL. Right?
Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Give him a nice $10 million a year for 2 or 3 years. I'll take Alan Lazard on the
$10 million as a 2? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
11,
look,
12.
Michael Gallup is making 14. So, yeah, I get that.
I'll probably make 14 then, honestly.
All right, let's get into it. Since we're talking... What'd you say?
Shit.
We're talking about...
That contract's running up. He's got 5 tutties this year already.
We're talking about the Thursday Night Football game here tonight. Obviously, it's the Titans visiting Lambeau Field. Last time we saw both of these teams, Lambeau Field, obviously the Packers took care of business with the Cowboys, and of course the Titans. What the heck did the Titans do last week?
They won.
Who'd they beat?
They
Who'd
won
they beat?
17-10.
Oh, yeah. It was a bum game. Okay. But they just control it. And that's
Who did
usually
they
what
beat?
has to be done if you're a Tennessee Titans fan. You're well aware that they're not going to light up the scoreboard. They're not a part of a great offense right now, but they have to get things going. Do they get things going tonight in Green Bay? I don't know if that's the recipe for success. I really don't.
Denver.
Denver. Okay. Denver stinks out loud. So they're coming off a win based off of, whatchamacallit, a bad Denver team. So now enter Derrick Henry, enter Tannehill / Malik Willis. Like, are there any Titans right now? And again, try to. I know where your root and interest is. I get that. If you're making money right now, taking all that aside, is there any Titans that you're looking at tonight in particular?
Yeah, if you want to make money, you go long on Derrick Henry and you use the multiplier and max it out. The Packers haven't tackled anybody this year. They're going to tackle that guy? No. And we know that the Titans aren't going to throw the ball at all because we've talked about Treylon Burks a little bit ago. We talked about they don't throw ever.
The guy with the 3 hyphenated name last week,
they're not
Nick,
going to start.
something.
When you look at the Packers and you're like, well, their secondary is pretty good, right? They defend the pass well. They do. If you look at the metrics,
jump on top of receivers right before they get the ball.
Mm-hmm. Sammy Watkins caught his. It doesn't matter. I don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. Where were we?
Who are you going in on the Titans right now before you get to the Packers?
So the Packers, they can't stop the run, and they do well stopping the pass. Titans don't even bother throwing the ball, so they're going to hand the ball to Derrick Henry 30 times tonight on prime time on a short week. I worry a little bit about the Packers on defense this week.
All right, well, flip side. Does last week show you a little something about Christian Watson? Is that somebody that you can do a long-term play on tonight? Like where we were just talking about Lazard, and obviously he's built the rapport over the first 4 years.
Watson anyway, because
I think we said that earlier in the week.
You should be in on Watson anyway. I mean, I think you may have missed out a little bit, but he's the one. We talk about all these receivers and all the guys that have the talent, and there's 10 guys in the first 2 rounds of the draft class this year that like 8 of them are playing well.
Yeah.
Christian Watson, he's had his hiccups, and he's managed to keep his stock price fairly low considering. And now, based off this last week, it should be a little bit higher because you got the confidence of the quarterback now. It's clear that the Packers have one chance this year, and that's taking the training wheels off Christian Watson and saying, hey, we're just going to let this guy loose.
Right.
Because he's, no doubt about it, the most talented receiver on that team. It's just about getting it all together and putting it together and trusting his own ability and catching the ball when it's thrown to you.
Which he's done 3 times last week.
Which he's done, but he also had 2 drops.
I'm well aware.
So we can't overlook that. And look, you could play all great football, but if you drop the ball over the course of the second half of the season, then they're going to start losing favor in Green Bay because, Rodgers talked about the refs.
I feel like Rodgers.
I don't think he's going to be that. I think Watson's stepping up. I think he had his hiccups, and then I love seeing out of a young player where his two drops were in the first drive of the game.
And then you righted the wrong.
And he righted the wrongs, and he made 4 big plays.
Love to see it, especially if you're an investor in one Christian Watson. So that's the Thursday night football game.
Christian Watson. I do think that there's a little bit of a overvalue right now on an Aaron Jones, and I know I say that with understanding that I think Aaron Jones is the most
Aaron Jones is also a faker.
I think Aaron Jones is
walking
one of, if not the most underrated backs in all of football. I think he's a little bit overvalued going into this game, though. The Titans don't give up any run yards. Like their adjusted line yards on defense are by far the best in football.
Really?
So yeah, they play with a different type of toughness.
And it's Mike Vrabel. Got to give a shout out to the coaching. Like that, he's coaching those boys up.
And you could really make the case that some of their games that they've played, they haven't really faced the most high-powered offenses.
Yeah.
And that's a fair assessment. But the Packers, to be fair, haven't really been the most high-powered offense. So if which Packers offense are we expecting to see? They can impose their will. Bakhtiari should be playing again for the second straight week. So I think Aaron Jones, if they give him the ball 15 times, the Packers win. They're 32-2 all time.
Yeah, the Cowboys also 195-0, winning up 14 in the fourth quarter. Rules are meant to be broken here,
but in this game, I hate to say, I just think I'm typically the guy that's been saying run the football, run the football, run the football with this offense. I think the path to victory here is to throw the ball. Mm-hmm. So I like the Green Bay pass catchers in this one more so than I like Aaron Jones. And conversely, I almost like A.J. Dillon more than Aaron Jones for the style matchup because they smack you in the mouth. We need somebody to kind of
I agree.
combat that a little bit.
I agree with that one. So please enjoy the Thursday night football game. And of course, you can follow Mojo right now on social media at Mojo on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Join the Discord. A lot of fun over there to talk and interact with other users, what they're investing in, how they're investing their money, who they're going long on, who they're going short on, all that fun stuff. Again, just join that. And of course, mojo.com for all of the blogs and the writing that all these phenomenal writers do. Check out Twitter tonight. There could be a possible Twitter Spaces before the Thursday night game with Luke Sawhook. So there's a lot of talent going around the Mojo pool, and there's a lot of guys doing good things.
Recap.
Okay, cool.
A little recap. I'm going to go with a multiplier on Derrick Henry tonight. Okay. And then I'm also going to go with a multiplier on Lazard. And then I'm just going to play Watson straight up.
Okay, done. We're done. All right. That sounds like a plan.
Long on Watson, long on Lazard, long on Henry. Not shorting anybody.
No shorting except for
Treylon Burks?
Tannehill?
No, I'm not shorting anybody tonight.
Right.
Tannehill, he would have to have 0 attempts for 0 yards for him to go down because there's no expectation that he's even going to throw the ball tonight. So
sounds like a plan. All right. Enjoy the football, everybody. We'll be back here to put a bow on that game and, of course, preview some of the big-time action coming to you for week number 11 in the NFL. For Dave Sturchio, Chris Gueci, this has been another episode of the Mojo Market Report. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning.
Go, Pack.
I hate it. Yeah.